Hi, my name is Adrian Nagorski with Flexroll, and thank you everyone for making the time to join us for this exciting webinar. So, based on the conversations we've had in direct engagement with many clients and prospects across many different industries, such as banking, insurance, health, government, financial services, we decided to run this webinar to talk about why and how you need to manage business rules. So business rules might not be the hardest topic when it comes to technology in organizations. However, they are always there. They guide us through the different steps and stages of all the things that we do. So just before I dive into the topic, I'd like to just briefly talk about the reason why we exist as a company, FlexRule. So we exist because we want to enable organizations to be able to adapt and adjust in changing environments. And talking of change, business rules change. They change constantly. They're always changing all the time. This is because of different reasons. It might be the changes in regulation and law, changes in organizational policies, or changes in the way we work together in an organization. So, business rules are there to guide us to ensure the consistency and quality of the outcome of the work we do, particularly when it comes to decision making. They shape our judgments, our decisions, and when they change, we need to make sure they are updated across all the processes, applications, workflows, customer touch points, and interactions, so on and so forth. So, business rule management ensures consistency across all these organizational touch points. To manage and update these rules effectively, we must separate them from the systems, processes, and applications that they're encoded in. So the steps in business rule management, first is the separation. So we isolate the life cycle of the business rules from the applications, processes to manage changes without redeploying the entire stack. Then we do the modeling. We create detailed models of the rules, specifically their execution and steps. So this goes beyond simply just documenting them in Excel or Confluence. It's including their execution details. Then we do the testing. We test the rules in live scenarios to validate outcomes and ensure they function correctly. Enforcement. So to enforce them, we integrate the rules into the processes and applications, ensuring they work within the workflows, for example, like in loan origination or fraud detection. So by isolating, modeling, testing, enforcing, we can easily update the rules in one place, minimizing the risk of defects and optimizing resources. This cyclical process continues as rules evolve or the processes are or new processes are implemented because business rules, uh, their life cycle lives by a different timeline. So now, when it comes to the different approaches, there are many different ways to implement a rules management process. As you can imagine, each has its own pros and cons. These are the three alternatives. They don't necessarily cover all the stages of the process that I talked about. So since business rules span all the client touch points, initially hard coding them in processes ensures consistency. However, as rules frequently change, updating applications and processes becomes necessary, which poses quite a challenge, especially one of the drawbacks here of hard coding the business rules is the constant requirement to change and revisit and update code, which is very time consuming, inefficient. It also leads to the dependency on IT and software development teams. So you rely on software development practices such as Python, Java, and agile methodologies which can create a backlog. So IT teams may struggle to keep up with the frequency of the rule changes. Another one is the loss of domain expertise. So IT teams might lack the necessary domain expertise in a particular domain, for example, claims or underwriting. So it could lead to miscommunication and the need for an additional back and forth. So it increases the time, effort, and resources required to implement the changes correctly. So to avoid this loss of knowledge and this translational issue, from our domain experts and team leads, subject matter experts should model and manage business rules themselves. So business rule management systems are effective for exactly this purpose. They enable the non-technical individuals to create and manage business rules without relying on IT or developers. So that's actually one of the big advantages is it allows the domain expert to build and model business rules. So it provides a user-friendly modeling techniques. So one of the drawbacks to a business rule management system is that it initially requires quite an extensive setup. So because the rules are very detailed and granular in nature, and now you start managing quite a large repository of rules, and it leads to the big bucket of rules problem. It becomes very complex and requires organizing, updating, and finding all the dependencies um, around thousands of different rules. So it's a bottom-up approach, and it can be challenging. So when you start with the rules, that's why it's hard. So to address the big bucket of rules problem, you use a decision management suite because that takes a top-down approach. Instead of focusing just on the individual rules, the decision management suite starts with the high-level scenario, which is the decision. So it contains categorized rules. This is one of the great advantages. It actually simplifies the management by organizing rules within specific scenarios called decisions. So you reduce the complexity compared to managing just individual rules. One of the drawbacks to the decision management suite is that for operationalizing the rules across your different systems and processes becomes a challenge and leads right back to your reliance on IT. So rule updates may eventually become delayed, causing the organization to use outdated rules until changes are implemented in your systems and processes. So modern decision management suite tools better handle the rule dependency and the decision impacts, but they still lack that comprehensive support for that pre-work. So that's the data extraction, preparation, and post-work, which is operationalizing the rules. So how does FlexRule overcome legacy decision management suite's limitations? So FlexRule was created to address these shortcomings. The end-to-end decision management suites covers the pre-work and operationalization of decisions. FlexRule is also DMN Conformance Level 3. So what does that mean, DMN? It's decision model and notation, a standardized approach for decision modeling that promotes consistency, interoperability, and best practices across various platforms and tools. So this DMN compatibility means that FlexRule ensures interoperability and you're avoiding this vendor lock-in. So you're not being at the mercy of a particular vendor's technology or a particular language. That's one of the benefits is that it's an open standard. So the DMN ensures best practices with other tools and systems. So it offers level 3 conformability of everything that you do. I think one of the best points here is that it actually empowers the domain experts. So someone from underwriting or pricing can model, test, operationalize the rules without relying on IT or DevOps. So it's efficiency. Business rules can be updated easily within the platform. So it reduces the dependency on IT for system integration and coding. So just to give you an idea of the process overview here, we do the separation. So business rules are separated from the applications, processes, and systems. We do the modeling. So the domain experts can model the rules visually within the platform. Then you can do the testing. Rules are tested in live scenarios within the platform. The next step is enforcing or operationalizing them. So the rules are enforced across all your systems and processes without the need of IT's intervention. So FlexRule's approach empowers organizations to manage the entire life cycle of the business rules and decisions efficiently, leveraging the DMN standard for improved interoperability and best practices. There's always one other alternative. Rather than using external vendors, an external vendor solution, you have an in-house built solution. So one of the pros to this is This alternative approach is that it's custom built. So it's a solution specific to your organization's needs. So you have complete control over the entire development process. So this is a bit of a double-edged sword because of the resource constraint. IT teams are often already very busy with their own backlog. So this just adds a little bit of that extra work. There's also that time to market. Building a solution from scratch, that takes a lot of time, and that delay it delays consistency across your processes and applications, and also the cost. While your IT team is part of your organization, building and maintaining a solution is not cost-free. So it's diverting resources from your strategic projects. Another point that I've seen a lot in my career is the lack of future proofing. So the IT solution will meet your immediate needs today, but it often lacks that scalability and adaptability for future changes. Also, you might have come across this as well. This user friendliness. In-house built solutions are typically built by IT for IT. So it's not designed for the subject matter experts or business operation teams. One of the advantages here to Flexroll is the DMN open standard. So the standard ensures interoperability and best practices. So from the get-go, you're already 200 yards ahead of anything IT starts, since you're leveraging best practices and domain knowledge and expertise. There's the efficiency and speed. It's a ready-to-go solution, which reduces your time to market, ensuring your consistency in your rule management across all your processes and applications. And also a key point here is empowerment. It empowers or allows your domain experts on the business side or business users to model, test, operationalize rules without the heavy reliance on IT. And if we really look at it, it's actually cost effective because you reduce the need to constantly have IT's intervention and updates. So you allow IT to focus on their strategic initiatives. So just to summarize, the in-house solution is very customizable, but very resource intensive. It's very slow to market and often not very user-friendly and not designed for non-IT personnel. And when it comes to Flexroll, it's quick deployment, DMN standard compatibility, user-friendly for SMEs, cost-effective, enable efficient and scalable rule management. So how does this look like? Let's take a look at Flexroll for effective management of rules and decisions. So the Flexroll platform is a unified, open, simple platform. We intentionally built it unified because it makes the user experience and workflow easier. It's integrated because it requires you to do all the pre-work and post-work. So pre-work is the data preparation, connecting to systems, gathering information for processing, execution of rules, and integrating the results back into the applications, processes, and systems. It's seamless, integrated, unified platform, which is very simple to use. We also intentionally built Flexroll to be used outside of the IT groups. So generally, most of our users are from domain experts, SMEs, operations team, generally from the business side rather than IT. So when you look at our platform, we intentionally built it to look like applications used every day. So some parts of it, you'll see in a couple of slides, look like Excel. Some parts of it look like Visio. Parts look a lot of like familiar applications that you work with every day, like Tableau or Power BI. This is done intentionally so you can actually leverage the knowledge you already have with the tools you use in your daily life. So our platform behaves similarly to manage the business rules across all the stages of management, from modeling, testing, enforcing, and updating the rules. So when we talk about rules management and we talk about the benefit of not managing the rules directly, rather you're managing the scenarios that include the rules, which is the decisions. So let's have a look. What does that mean? So a business decision is very complex. Therefore, we need to decompose the business decisions into smaller, easy to understand decision units. And this is what a decision graph does. Without going into too many details on how the particular decision is made, at a high level, it defines the decision scenario. The decision graph uses a decomposition technique. That means, in this instance, for this particular example, it decomposes the calculation for that health premium into individual subcomponents, which are called decision units. Um, for example, we were calculating the health premium, which requires the result to calculate the base premium and apply the situational decisions, as you see in those two boxes. Similarly, you can actually decompose that situational decision into discount and COVID. So as you can see, you're decomposing a complex business decision into smaller, easier to understand decision units. When you think about the business decision, they will require input. So this input can be from the user or the setting, the environment that is being executed, or it can come from other systems and processes, operational databases, and other data sources. So we need to define each of these decision units that we decomposed from the previous section into what input data do they need and what is the structure of that input data. So we decompose the business decision into smaller, reusable decision units. We need to specify for each individual decision unit what input data do they need for execution. And this specific data for the decision unit is called fact concepts. We've defined the hierarchy of the business decisions, meaning we decompose them into smaller decision units. We define the input data for these decision units. Now, each individual decision unit is different in nature. So it might be a rule-driven decision. It might be machine learning. It might be any other type of technology that you can use for this particular decision. So now the benefit of decision decomposition, it allows you to use many different technologies to make that decision happen. In this case, a specific decision unit is rule-driven. So there are multiple approaches to define a rule-driven decision. The current slide you're looking at shows a rule-driven decision being implemented using a rule modeling technique called a decision table. So the decision table is a tabular form. It allows you to specify your input and output of a individual decision. So in this tabular form, you can see it looks like Excel intentionally. So we built it like Excel and it behaves similarly. In this example, the green columns of your decision table, that is your input, and the pink column is your output. So one of the strengths of FlexRule is that it provides many options for different people and their preferences from different backgrounds that they might be coming from. Another way for modeling a rule-driven decision is called natural language. Again, here it's a rule-driven decision, but now the difference is using natural language. When the FAT concept is defined, and that becomes the basis of your business terminology for a specific team or group you're working with to define the terms and glossaries that are called for specific functions. Now you can use those to define the rules around a particular scenario related to a specific decision unit. So the editor of the natural language, it's a guided editor. So it picks up the definitions of your team's terms. It understands all the applicable operators and it guides you in writing the business rules using your ubiquitous language that you've defined as your business glossary. So not all decisions in your decision graph that we decompose into hierarchical decision units are rule-based decisions. For example, the calculation for the amount of leave or the interest rate around a payment are mathematical calculations. So we need to specify these non-rule decision logic in our decision graph. And the way we do it in FlexRule is called tree-subtree, which allows you to build non-rule driven decision logic around a specific scenario. To summarize the overall process, we need to have the complex business decision. We decompose it into smaller, easier to use and understand decision units. They are all interconnected. Then we define the inputs of these decision units using our FAT concepts. And then we go ahead and we drill down into each individual decision unit and implement them using different techniques, such as rule-driven decisions, non-rule-driven decisions, or machine learning. So what are the use cases for the business decision management? If you drill down into them, they all rely on complex business decisions being made and executed. So, looking at the scenarios generally, you look at the journey of the client or customer. Someone goes to a financial organization, they want to borrow money or purchase a product, a credit card, savings account, or get a specific cover. So, along this journey of the customer, there are many different decisions being made on behalf of the customer and on behalf of the organization. So, they have to be optimized for both. For instance, how do we price a particular product or that we are selling to a customer, or if they want to open a check or savings account, do we want to have that specific customer? Because there are certain risks associated with any individual or business that we want to sell our products to. So the way we operate, we also need to check if that's compliant with regulations and laws, and that's from a local or national point of view. FlexRule has many different use cases across many different industries. And just to give you an idea what that looks like if you manage business rules effectively, I want to talk a little bit about M-Leasing. M-Leasing is the second largest online leasing company in Europe. They're part of mBank. mBank does use FlexRule, but for separate other use cases. But in this particular case, M-Leasing uses FlexRule across multiple use cases, from their risk, product configuration to product validation and pricing. So the problem we solve for M-Leasing is enabling them to go to market in a very quick turnaround time, especially when they need to do new products or when they need to change the configuration on how they lease a particular product. So if you imagine the scenario for a second, M-Leasing leases a variety of different products, from MRI machines, personal cars, fleet management. It's a wide range of products that they offer, and it often requires different combinations, and it needs to be aligned with the customer and the business objectives. So especially when they do a particular leasing that requires a lot of change on the fly. Initially, these changes relied heavily on IT to do these changes, and all these changes and updating of what the business needs became a catch-up game for IT. And at the end of the day, the business couldn't get the changes done in the desired time frame. So you can imagine it caused a lot of headaches for IT and a loss of opportunity for their business. But after implementing FlexRule, the similar changes that they needed to do, rather than taking them 3 weeks or 3 months to make, they were able to do in a day. And that is what you look at when you manage business rules effectively. Proudly, we got customers across the world in many different verticals. Another great example is PCNA. They're a leader in the manufacturing industry, and they use FlexRule because it allows them to do product configuration. So based on that configuration, they can calculate the price of a product that they want to ship from a production to a desired destination. So in their case, this involves many different small decision units, as you can imagine, especially when they do printing of a logo on a bottle compared to marketing slogans on a shirt. There's many different machines, materials involved, and quantity, especially even from the ordering stage from the consumer side, that influences the pricing that needs to be calculated. So all these decisions from the beginning of the customer journey, when they go to the PCNA website to order something or a sample and the quantity, it's all handled by FlexRule's decision management suite. So if you have any other questions and you'd like to talk to us about how FlexRule can help you, I invite you to please reach out to us via email at info@flexrule.com. Thank you again for making the time for this presentation. Bye for now.